Hi everybody, my name is Anastasia Dvorak. I'm your Calgary Lifestyle Guide. Welcome back. I'm a local real estate agent and a blogger, and today we're talking about renting in Calgary. How to rent an apartment, how to rent a house, how to do it quickly, easy, and stress-free, what to write in your application, how to write it, what not to write, and all the other little things you have to consider in order to be chosen to be the best applicant for the dream property of your choice. Let's get started. What are the rental costs you need to pay for? Here, I will be discussing all the costs that you need to consider. And there are a lot of costs that you've never even heard of. And that's why I think it's important that you listen to this particular part really carefully. Number one, refundable deposit. So you will get this deposit refunded at the end of your lease term, which is typically 6 months to a year. Right now, it's typically 1 year. So you will get that deposit refunded if you've kept the property in good shape. I am not talking about wear and tear. I'm talking about the things like you did not damage the carpet is still relatively clean. You did not damage the walls. Basically, you didn't do any substantial damage. You respected the property, and that's when you will get your deposit back. The second thing we consider is the first rental payment of the month. Sometimes landlords require additional payments. That happens if you have no credit history, if you're a brand new immigrant, or if you're a refugee, if you have absolutely zero history, if you have no references, and nobody knows who you are, you have absolutely no background in Canada, then they may consider that you need to pay them first month's rent, second month's rent, and the last month's of rent. I know it's a lot, but that's what happens. A lot of property management companies actually require 4 payments up front. So that would be the deposit and then 3 additional payments. First month's of rent, second month's of rent, and the last month of rent. So it is pricey, but sometimes that's what happens. And I need you to be prepared for that. The third thing that we need to consider is utilities. So utilities sometimes can be included in the rental, and you will actually see it in the ad. It will say, let's say if you're looking for an apartment, it will say heat and water are included. But that means that electricity is not included. And electricity is typically about $50 if you're renting an apartment. And sometimes the landlord does not include any utilities. And that means that you have to pay for heat, which is gas. You have to pay for water, and you have to pay for electricity. And that is approximately $200 that you have to account for. That's $200 that you have to put towards utilities, okay? If you are renting a house, a duplex, or a townhouse, you will typically have to cover all of the utilities. Yes, there is some rental ads that actually include utilities, which is amazing and very generous. But most of the time, guys, you will have to cover the utilities. The cost of the utilities is roughly $200 to $350 a month for a property under 1,500 square feet. And it's about $450 to $700 a month for a property that's over 1,500 square feet. So it's for a large house. So it would be about $450 in the summer months, but make sure not to use air conditioner too much, okay? Otherwise the cost goes up. And it will be roughly about $700 a month for the winter months, but that's when it's super cold. That's when you pay a lot. The next thing we need to consider is internet. And there are lots of different providers, and you can choose the one that works for you. Average cost is about $65 to $89. And I'm not talking about cable TV, I'm just talking about internet. So definitely we need internet in our life. So I recommend using companies like Shaw, TELUS, and there are a couple of others that you can use, but do your research, okay? The next thing we need to consider is moving in fees. And those are the fees that are applicable to situations when you're renting an apartment. Typically, there are no move-in fees when you're renting a townhouse, a duplex, or a house. What that means is that you will be booking an elevator in an apartment building, and you need to pay $150 to $200 to the property management company to schedule this move. So yes, it costs a bit, but you have to pay for that. And if you're trying to not pay for that and do it illegally by just doing it, ignoring the rules, and just pushing your couch into the elevator, don't do that, guys. There's security recording available. There are neighbors who will report you, and then you'll have to pay a fine that could be, from $500 to $1,000. I don't even know how much it would be. So please, if you do want to move in and you need to use the elevator, please schedule your move. Do not start this relationship on a bad note. You do need to schedule it. You do need to pay $200 because then the property management company will actually put the protective covers in the elevator, and then you can move your furniture and no one's gonna bother you. You'll have a time slot to move all your stuff and it will be done. Okay, so the landlord will not be in trouble and you will not be in trouble. So please follow the rules, guys. The next item that we need to talk about is rental insurance. And rental insurance is very, very important. I know not a lot of people have it, but I highly recommend it. It only costs about, $15 to $20 to $30 a month, but it will cover you in case of a liability. And let me describe you the typical situation. For example, I know it will not happen to you, but let me talk about it. There are some landlords who require it and some landlords do not require it, but I really recommend it. And here's why. Let's pretend in this crazy scenario that you're taking a bath and you forgot to turn it off and the bath water overflowed, and basically there is a little flood and the water seeped through and it's already covering the ceiling of the unit below you. And that's a really bad situation. So there's a water damage. And when there comes to any kind of damage in the condo building, the deductible is usually about $50,000. Okay. So what that means is that the landlord comes in, sees there's a damage, or somebody reports you, and basically you have to pay $50,000. Yes, and if you don't have it, then the landlord will sue you or put a lien on you. You will have legal problems. You'll have problems, okay? This is situation number one. You need to protect yourself, okay? So rental insurance is very important. And landlords, you also need to protect yourself. That's why I insist on having rental insurance. For all my clients who ever want to rent, guys, my advice is get a rental insurance or make sure your tenant gets that rental insurance, okay? It's super important. And usually it is the responsibility of a renter to get that insurance, okay? So another situation. So there's actually one case in Legacy. I'm not going to mention the building, but there was one building where there was a sprinkler malfunctioning. So what happened is that the whole floor got flooded and there were, 80 to 100 families that were displaced. So they had nowhere to live. All their stuff was damaged. People who did not have rental insurance, they had to, live with their family. They had to rent a hotel. People who had rental insurance actually had their hotel paid for, their meals paid for. They were protected. They were covered by that insurance. And I know it is an act of God and it's really rare that it can actually happen to you, but it can happen. And I've seen the damage on TV and it's really bad. Like all of their stuff it's dead. It's gone. It's garbage. And if you had that rental insurance, then the rental insurance would actually reimburse you for all the damaged stuff, okay? So rental insurance is super important. These are the providers at the bottom that I recommend. You can go with any provider of your choice and you can compare rates with all kinds of providers, but please seriously consider rental insurance. The next thing we need to consider is pet costs. First of all, not every single landlord will accept a pet, no matter how cute or adorable your dog or cat is. I know it is sad, and that's why when you go on Rent Faster, for example, make sure you filter the properties that only accept pets or cats or dogs. Some properties do not accept them at all, so what's the point of looking at them, right? So only choose the properties that accept pets. Sometimes there is a weight limit when it comes to your dog. There's no weight limit for cats. There's a weight limit for your dog if you're renting an apartment. Most apartments have a weight limit of 30 pounds, and they also require a maximum of one dog or one cat. So you can have two animals, but it can be either two cats, two dogs, or one cat or one dog, and that's it. If you have three, you don't qualify. Also, if you have a small pet like a hamster or a bunny, I would definitely disclose that to the landlord and see if they could accept them. But not all of them do, and that is a fact, okay? And also, if you do have a pet, you might have to pay extra fee for it per month. So it can be roughly from extra $50 to $100 per pet per month. Yes, and that depends on the landlord. But again, if you are looking for an apartment building, be aware that there might be a weight limit restriction. If you're renting a house or a townhouse or a duplex, usually there are no restrictions in terms of weight. Okay, so definitely talk to your landlord and figure out if there are any restrictions.